Alright guys, I just got back from watching The Possession, and I enjoyed this movie. I think it's probably one of the best horror movies we've had this year, and everybody did a really good job with this movie. I guess one of my problems was it wasn't really scary. It was still entertaining, but it wasn't really scary because I felt it was kind of a little too supernatural for me. It's about this girl who finds a box, and she ends up getting possessed. There's a demon that lives in the box. But with the whole moth thing, I thought it was good and it worked. It just was a little too supernatural, like a little too cartoony. The Exorcist is kind of like the simple girl gets possessed. She still does the crazy stuff, like her head spins, she spits out the green soup, but this one I thought was kind of a little over the top as far as that goes. But it didn't kill the movie or anything. I just didn't find it as scary as I expected. But it's also one of those movies where you're not really scared in the theater. You kind of think about it later, and then you're kind of like, oh, that was pretty creepy. So it was kind of like that for me, but I thought everybody did a good job. I have seen a ton of these demon possession movies, so this isn't my first rodeo, but I thought they added some new stuff with this one, with the box, with the rabbis instead of priest, and I thought it was interesting. Of course, they tell you it's based on a true story. I'm sure it was very, very loosely based. Yeah, so definitely, I do recommend this movie. I had a good time watching this one. Much better than The Apparition from last week, and I expected that, and it was. So, anyway, that's my overall thoughts on the movie. Now I'm going to get into some spoilers here. So if you want to check it out and you don't want any spoilers, cut the video off now. But it's really just this guy who recently was divorced from his wife, and they have two girls together, and they come to live with him on the weekends, and he's really busy with work and everything, and his daughters say, hey, let's stop at this yard sale, and he does, and they find the box. But the really cool thing about this was the lady who owned the box. The movie opens up and she's hearing voices from it, and she goes to get a hammer to destroy the box, and then she just gets the living hell kicked out of her. I mean, this thing just, she's flown across her living room, her head smashes a glass table. So it does physically attack people. You don't see it, but people get thrown around and stuff. So when they're at the yard sale and they see the box, one of the little girls sees a lady inside with a nurse attending to her, and she's all bandaged up. And the little girl's holding the box looking in the window, and the lady looks at it and like slams her hand on the glass and is like, no, no, because it was the box that did this to her. So the little girl takes the box home, and she starts to kind of hear voices coming from it, and she eventually, opens the box, and there's like all these little trinkets and things inside, like a wisdom tooth and all types of stuff, but a moth comes out of the box. And eventually, it really goes pretty quick, because things immediately start happening, like crazy things happen. Her older sister is brushing her teeth and sees a moth on her, and then she opens the medicine cabinet and there's like a ton of moths inside, and then she backs up and she's looking at her dad, and he's like, what the hell? And then they look at her sister's room, and there's moths under the door, so they open the door and there's moths all over the room. And the little girl starts acting really bizarre. She stabs her dad in the hand with a fork. When she goes home to her mom's house, she's freaking out. She was a vegetarian, very anti-meat, and now she's like eating raw meat, talking in a different voice. She's throwing glass stuff on the ground, and her mom's like walking over it, cutting her feet, trying to help her daughter. And she's obsessed with this box, and her dad realizes something's going on with this box. She's constantly talking about it. She's acting different. It's like she's addicted to the box. And he gets rid of it, and his daughter says, where's the box? Where did you take it? And she's freaking out like she's going through withdrawal without this box. And she eventually runs and finds the box again, and all types of crazy stuff, but the only way they can help her is to go get this rabbi. And the rest of the rabbis don't want anything to do with it. Apparently, this box is what the Jewish people used to seal demons inside. And yeah, that was it really. They use stuff they love and care about and place it in the box with the spirit so that when they close it, it's trapped in there forever. And you cannot open this box. So when the other rabbis see and find out it's been opened, they're like, no, nothing to do with this. But this one rabbi, and I thought this guy did a great job. He was like my favorite character in the movie. He had all this gray hair though. He looked much younger, but his hair was gray. But he agrees to help. And he goes to perform the ceremony. And there was this one really creepy scene where they take Emily, the possessed girl, to the hospital. And they give her a CAT scan. And while they're looking in the monitor, the lights start flickering in the hospital. And the parents, the mother, finally comes to believe that the daughter is possessed because on the x-ray, you can see a person inside her body. And it's looking back at him. It was really creepy. I liked that part. That was my favorite scene in this movie. Definitely creepy. There's a few other things where the fingers in the back of the throat, stuff like that. But anyway, they're at the hospital and they see this. So now the mom's like, nothing can help us. What do we do? And the dad's like, well, I got some help. It's the rabbi. And the rabbi says, we got to go somewhere private. We can't leave the hospital. So they go downstairs. I thought it was a little ridiculous. They're doing an exorcism in a hospital and screaming, and all of this stuff is happening and no one hears it. But they're down there for a while. They're performing the exorcism, and of course she's reacting violently. And she eventually escapes. She attacks the rabbi and escapes into the morgue. And the father goes in there and she's like, Daddy, you scared me. And she keeps saying that over and over, and then the voice slowly changes as she says it. And then she's jumping around, fighting with her father, and he says, take me instead, and that's what happens. The rest of them show up, and the dad is now possessed. But I don't know if maybe the demon loses some power jumping bodies or something, because the rabbi was easily able to expel this thing at the very end, once it was in the dad. So he kicks the demon out of the dad, and you see a hand come out of his mouth and grab his face. And that's what I was talking about earlier, how it was kind of a little too supernatural for me. I'm glad they showed it. And it was only a PG-13 movie, but I'm glad they showed that because the demon eventually does come out and you can see the CGI demon crawling into the box. And I thought it looked cool. I was fine with it because they had already done so much supernatural stuff, like the moths flying into the girl's mouth to possess her, the x-ray, the hands in the back of the throat, all of that stuff. So I was fine with this. But it wasn't very scary because it was so, I don't want to say cartoony because it sounds too negative, but it was very just kind of supernatural, just way out there. But they get the demon back in the box and everything is fine. The father, the mom, they're all coming back together. The daughter's okay. Everything's good. The next day we see that the dad is at the house with his family who, like I said before, they were divorced. So all of this stuff happened and it was very negative on the family. But at the end, it actually brought them together, which is what the kids wanted the entire time. And everybody's happy and they're family again. But it did kill people. I mean, people died. But I'm just saying, yes, this entire event was horrible, but it did have a good purpose for the family. Anyway, the big twist at the end of the movie, the father calls the rabbi, and he's driving back with the box. And he says, you can keep the car, I'm not going anywhere. What are you going to do with the box? And the rabbi's got the box next to him. He says, I'm going to take it to my dad, and we're going to find a safe place to put it. And as he's driving, he gets hit by a truck. And the rabbi just instantly dies. And all these people come and look at the car, and we just see the box sitting there on the side. Meaning someone else is going to pick this up and probably open it. And that was how it ended. But people did die. There was a school teacher who died because she was messing with the box. She took it from the little girl in class. Yes, she brought the box to school. And it killed her. I thought the lady in the beginning died, but it just beat the crap out of her. And then of course the rabbi gets hit by a truck. So it sucked because he was my favorite character, but it was a good twist at the end of the movie. I did like that. And that was it. That was The Possession. So definitely a good movie to check out. I had fun watching this one, and I'm a huge fan of horror movies and the whole exorcist possession type movie. So I thought this was one of the better ones I've seen. So definitely check that out if you're a fan of those movies too. And that's it really. So hopefully you guys like this review. Leave your thoughts on this movie in the comments below. And thanks for watching. Bye.